Hey, folks, welcome to InTheMoneyStocks.com's intraday analysis video, brought to you by the creators of proprietary price, pattern, and time methodology. Learn the PPT strategies and profit for life. Let's get started on this November 3rd, Monday, 2014. Markets are mixed on the day. Dow is lagging down about 15 points, but the NASDAQ is leading today up 17 points, with the S&P up slightly about 3 points on the day. So what's going on today? Markets, as you can see, very quiet. Probably one of the quietest days we've seen in a couple months here on the markets. And again, this is because we're just waiting for the elections. All right, so we all know the elections are tomorrow. I called this yesterday in the No Hype Live broadcast, which is part of the Research Center. I do live broadcast for our members where they can ask questions, see my charts and everything live on Sunday nights. My partner does it on Wednesday evenings. But ultimately, you had to understand that the markets are in a position here to just kind of float into and through the elections. And then I think you start getting some volatility starting on Wednesday and Thursday of this week. So that's really the projections right now. I said to members that you just really expect sideways to floating higher over the next day or so into those elections and through those elections. And that's exactly what we're getting today. Volume today, minuscule. Please notice the volume candles here over lunch. You can barely see them. They're getting so small. And again, that's neutral to positive for the markets. A couple things to go over. We do have some stocks moving out there. Alibaba reports earnings tomorrow. And again, Alibaba here having a great day. And again, this is just rallying into earnings. So remember, this is taking a little steam out of good earnings because it's already factoring them in. Not to say it can't go a little bit higher on good enough earnings. It just means that there's less upside potential and more risk to the trade. I am not long Alibaba. I'm not short. I'm just a watcher at this point, and I think that's a smart position. This is the first time they'll ever be reporting to the public eye, really, here in the U.S. since they went public, so it's going to be an interesting report for sure. Another stock that's making waves today is Apple. Apple's trading up about $1.75, just off the highs of the day, and again, interesting to see here what's going on, okay? So we'll continue to watch here and see how things trade out. But Apple, this is important, folks. I see a pivot top on Apple around the 110 level. Could pierce by a little bit, but in the short term, this is getting too extended. And again, I am beginning to suspect a pullback. And again, one thing I want to point out here, when you pull back, this is where you're pulling back to, this pivot high and this little breakout area. But the point is, look at today's candle as a wide range candle and look at the volume today. So that's telling me that that's almost at the end of the run. Anytime you get good upside, but it's on insanely light volume, it means that basically you're just getting those last few buyers in, but there's just no sellers right now. So it's buying it up on very light volume. There's no institutional participation on the long side here, and that's something you want to pay attention to. Okay, so keep an eye on that, folks, and we'll continue to watch on that. Couple other things to go over. I have a couple other stocks that I'm keeping a close eye on. Number one is an ETF. It's the IBB. And this is the biotech ETF. So this basically tracks the NASDAQ biotech stocks like Amgen, Gilead, Celgene. And I loved the reversal on Friday. See how this thing gapped up above the even number of 300 on Friday and then sold off? So that, to me, gets my attention immediately. When I see something like that where it's at a major move up and it kind of has that reversal, it gets my attention. My ears just perk up, my eyes open wide. And today is seeing a little bit of follow-through. Now, you want to see on this that you want to see a close below the low of this candle from Friday. So basically, that's a close below 295 and a quarter. If you get that, it's a dead on top, and I would continue to look for downside in the IBB. If you don't, they could float it a little ways, but ultimately, I do believe that it'll come in regardless, just a matter of when at this point in time. The metals today, let's talk about commodities. Commodities are stabilizing after some pretty ugly 3-bar down surges, and again, you can see the GLD is basically flat on the day, but please notice this. This fall here, 120 to basically 112. That's a big fall in a short amount of time on gold. It is due for a bounce, plus you have a 1, 2, 3-bar surge to the downside. Yields usually a little bit of a bounce. I'm expecting a bounce back to this trend line right here in this gap fill, right around the 115 and a quarter level. So that's about $2 to $3 move to the upside on the GLD. Silver as well, same thing. Should see a bounce back up in this range here. And again, these are just oversold, and also stocks, the stocks that follow them. Like if you look at the GDX, which is the gold miners, this is actually having a pretty nice day, up 3.31%, but it should actually have more upside potential. What you're going to look for is it to get above on a closing daily basis this area right here, this basic gap fill, we'll call it at the $18.17 level. Gets above that on a closing basis, it should move all the way up towards this pivot area right here, which is around the $20 level. And again, the one thing I kind of point out to people is that gold is just slightly below earlier year lows, but a lot of these gold miners have taken a huge hit. I mean, a good example, and Yamana Gold's, I guess, maybe not the best because they have some issues there with Brazil, but I mean, this stock was a $9 stock, and now it's a $4 stock. I mean, think about that in just a matter of 2-3 months, 9 to 4. And this, we're not talking about a small company. This is a multi-billion-dollar company. You know, I think their market cap is now $3 billion or 3.5 or close to 4, something like that. But the point is, for a big company, you know, if this is a small cap crappy stock, it's one thing. But there's a monster out there. I mean, look at ABX. All right, ABX went from 19 down to basically 11. Think about percentages, what that's. Now, imagine if gold dropped 40%, because that's what this stock is down, about 40%. So it didn't. So that tells me that it's a little oversold to the downside. Plus, look at the volume indicators here. Volume tells us that you most likely saw a flush. Now, I'm not saying that these gold stocks and gold itself and silver itself won't go down later on, maybe 6 months from now, maybe 3 months from now, maybe a year from now. My point is, in the short term, I'm a short-term investor. I want to know what's going to happen in the next week or two. And in the next week or two, I expect a bounce on the gold miners, which we're already getting on some of these. Like if you look at the GDX, it's up 3% today, as well as the gold itself, silver itself, and even oil's a little trickier. And let me just talk about oil. The only thing that's tricky about oil is that it's hovering at this triple bottom here. And if it breaks, that's a big problem for oil. As long as it holds, this thing could go up very, very easily. So we'll watch that very closely, but more so on gold and silver and the miners and so forth. And again, SLW today, you can see getting a good bounce on SLW right back up. And that's another, it's a silver wheat and it's a silver play, but from $27 to $17. $10 drop on that, basically a 30+% move to the downside. By the way, GDX moving higher here. A couple other stocks I'm watching. I really like this CRR. If it closes the day, I only like this, and this is a buy signal, if it closes the day above the 20 MA. So basically, if it closes above 53.25 today, that should be a close above this 20 MA. And notice how it keeps hitting into the 20. So you see it hit, pull back, pull back, got above it here and then pull back. If it closes above, that should free the stock. You should see it get a nice buy program for a couple days. I actually think it could go as high as $70 to $73. I mean, that's a nice move to the upside. But remember, the stock's down from 150. So, I mean, 150 to 47 low, a bounce back to 70 is just a minor bounce. But percentage-wise, if you're buying at 50, it's a pretty nice darn move. Okay? So that's what we're seeing there, folks. I think that's about it for what I wanted to cover today. And again, just an interesting thing. Remember, Alibaba earnings tomorrow morning, Sprint after the bell today. Keep an eye on the miners. Those look very cheap to me, as does gold and silver right now. I do expect bounces there. IBB reversal from Friday is a definite signal that the market may be getting a little long in the tooth. Projections on the market continue to be that I'm looking for flattish, kind of choppy float to the upside action over the next day or so into and through the elections, and then I think you start to see some weakness following that. Now, again, the weakness could be minor. It could be just a pullback from this massive move up, but you got to get some sort of pullback at this stage of the game. Got to get it. All right, take care, guys. Come join us at InTheMoneyStocks.com. Two main services out there that you might be interested in. The Research Center, which has videos, analysis, trade alerts for swing trading, stocks and ETFs. Or if you are into options, the options alerts. That's pure and simple, just options alerts. What are options? Which ones should you be buying? Which ones are we buying? That's what it is right there. Have a great afternoon, great evening, folks. Take care.